My wife stayed at a barbecue while our son was in the ER, so I cut off her parents' payment. I texted my wife, "Our son is in the ER," and she replied, "I'm at my parents' barbecue. Can't leave right now." I sat in the hospital parking lot staring at it. My 12-year-old had collapsed at soccer practice. When I got there, he was on the grass, eyes glassy, lips turning blue. The paramedic said severe dehydration and told me not to wait. I drove like my life depended on it, one hand on the wheel while I kept dialing. I called my wife. Voicemail. Called again. Declined. By the third call, I knew she was choosing the party anyway. I left a voicemail and my voice cracked the whole time. Inside the ER, a nurse rushed me through quick questions, then pulled a curtain and told me to stay close. My son was on a bed with an IV in his arm, pale and trembling. He tried to sit up and winced. "Dad, I can't feel my hands," he whispered. "You're okay, they're helping you," I said, even though my stomach was in knots. "Where's Mom?" he asked, staring at the door. I squeezed his hand and lied. "She's coming." I stepped out and texted, "They said it could be dangerous, please come now." Then, "He keeps asking for you." No answer. I called again and it went straight to voicemail. A nurse asked if another parent was coming to sign for treatment, and I had to say, "No, it's just me." My son tried to lift his phone and said, "Can I call her?" And I said, "Not right now, just rest." I went back in and watched the monitor beep while a bag of fluid slowly emptied into his arm. He kept licking his dry lips and asking for water, and the nurse kept saying, "Small sips, okay?" 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed, and I thought it was her. It was an Instagram story. She was on my in-laws' patio, laughing with a margarita. My mother-in-law was grilling burgers like nothing mattered. The caption said, "Family first." Then I heard the audio and felt sick. My mother-in-law said, "That kid's always dramatic. He's probably faking it." Then she added, "Weak, just like his father." And my wife laughed like it was funny. I walked back into the room and looked at my son, asleep from the meds, and all I could think was, this is who they are when it counts. This wasn't new. They'd said he was too sensitive when he cried. They'd rolled their eyes when he got hurt. Once my mother-in-law told him, "Men don't whine," and my wife backed her up. I'd kept the peace and told myself it wasn't worth a fight. Sitting there, I realized I'd been doing more than keeping peace. I'd been keeping them comfortable. 3 years ago, my father-in-law lost his job. They acted like everything was fine, but bills started showing up marked late, and my wife was crying at night. He was too proud to ask for help, and my wife begged me not to humiliate him, so I paid, quietly. I set up autopay from my business account for their mortgage, their BMW loan, and a stack of credit cards. I covered their health insurance too, because my wife said, "They're family. We can't let them lose it." My father-in-law kept bragging about his comeback while I kept sending the payments. But in that ER room, with my son shivering under a thin blanket, it hit me that I was protecting the wrong people. Around 9 p.m., the doctor came in and said, "He's stable. You got him here in time." He explained what could have happened if we'd waited longer, and my chest went tight. My son finally drifted off again, breathing steady. I pulled out my laptop and logged into my accounts. First, the mortgage autopay, cancel. Then the BMW payment, removed. Then the credit cards, revoked. Then the health plan, canceled. Every click felt simple and clean. I wasn't plotting revenge. I was shutting off the part of my life that kept rewarding them. The next morning, my phone rang while my son picked at hospital pancakes. My father-in-law was yelling before I could even say hello. "The bank says our mortgage payment failed. Our cards are getting declined." In the background, I heard my wife asking what was going on. I said, "No error. I canceled the payments." He went quiet for half a second, then snapped, "You can't do that to family." I said, "Family doesn't laugh at a kid in the ER." He started talking fast, listing the car and the insurance, like saying the words might fix it. "All off," I said. Then my wife grabbed the phone. Her voice was sharp and shaky. "Are you seriously doing this over one barbecue?" I said, "I'm doing it over you ignoring your son's emergency and laughing when your mom called him weak." She tried to flip it. "You're punishing them to get back at me." I said, "I'm stopping the money that kept them comfortable while they treated our kid like a joke." She started crying and talking over me, begging me to turn it back on, promising anything. I didn't argue. I just said, "No," and hung up. My son looked at me and whispered, "Is Mom coming?" I squeezed his hand and said, "No, but I'm here. Eat your pancakes." Now everyone's saying I went too far cutting them off. Was I wrong?